Hey guys, Royalivi here, and I'm just going to get straight to the point today. I've been saying it a lot lately in my videos, but I'm going to say it again, and that's that I'm fucking shit at So5. Like, easily the worst Sorare YouTuber out there in terms of winning rewards and shit. So it's a good thing I'm handsome enough to keep you guys coming back to watch my videos, because between game week 260 and 263, all I managed to win was 0.03 Ethereum combined. No cards or anything, you know, because I'm shit. So all I can say from experience for anyone newer to Sorare out there, for So5, focus purely on strengthening one big fuck off team if you can, whether that's a limited or rare, you know, whatever suits your budget, as it's just likely to yield better and stronger results long term. For example, if you look at my club, I have lots of mediocre to average cards dotted around that just don't cut it in So5 at the moment, and there's no point competing in So5 for the sake of winning a tier 3, you know, the value is in those tier 1s and higher, so I'm starting to get the idea that diluting strength throughout the account is a pretty fucking terrible strategy. It definitely helps now having these specialist and underdog leagues, so those mediocre players aren't completely useless as they will have utility elsewhere for sure, but in terms of competing in the general So5 weeklies, they just don't cut it, and I sort of mentioned all of this in my last videos. I need to shift my strategy to stronger teams in general, especially in the limited area, so that's why for game week 264 I've gone out and I've bought absolutely fucking no one. I'm a bit of a lazy prick, alright? But I will get around to strengthening my teams at some point in the coming weeks, and if we take a look here, we can see I've got a very fancy Excel document detailing my teams at the moment, and there's some clear areas for improvement. I mean, don't get me started on my challenger teams. I'm sticking with the fucking Heartbreak stacks until the end of the Austrian season, alright lads? Heartbreak have got 5 games left there to save themselves, including a massive game against Altac in the coming weeks, so for my fucking sake, I hope they pull out a big win or two, otherwise I'm set to lose probably close to 2 grand in value on their cards, which, you know, would be bad. The rare all-star team is then fine for the time being with some strong players there to hit the thresholds. The under 23 team is more of an in-progress build, but, you know, pretty happy with that. Could do with a stronger forward, so we'll do some scouting in the coming weeks to perhaps replace Nuhu there. Although it is worth noting Fleming is an under 23 for another year, so providing Fortuna Sittard stay up as well, then he could be the man for that role. And then the real shitters of the account who've let me down for a while now is my America teams. Now, I'm very unsuccessful in the America leagues despite having somewhat strong players here, but as I was saying, somewhat strong players are no longer strong enough. I mean, in my rare team specifically, I recently sold Nias Goda for 0.105 Ethereum, scores a few goals but just doesn't cut it for me really overall, which means I'm left with Benji Mikkel and Shiny Ashiki, who are always on the bench. So for this team to be competitive, I really need to replace all of these players with a stronger forward. I'm looking at the likes of Yimi Chara, or if I really want to push the metaphorical boat out, maybe Driussi of FC Austin, although fuck me, this dude is quite expensive, so maybe I'll monitor his price for when the new MLS cards drop. But then basically have 2 limited America teams, one for All-Star and one for America. Really happy with Stuver and Cascante, but the rest of the surrounding players are really quite mediocre. Even Priyash Belko hasn't quite done enough for me this season, so again, need some big strengthening here, and you know what? I have the Ethereum in the account to do so, so honestly I just need to stop being a little bitch about it and spend some of my money on these limiteds for fuck's sake, so stay tuned for next episode, as I'm going to be strengthening these teams big time. I promise, I will do it next episode, I swear. Maybe. Oh, and I also bought 5 Norio Fortunas and another Nuruddin for investment purposes. Not for any particular reason with Fortuna, I just think his price is fairly cheap right now for a player Gent spent 5 million of the Queen's legal tender on. If we look at his past price graph, we can see he did hit around 0.1 Ethereum back when he was playing regularly, so more of a gamble on him getting some early game time next season. And for Nuruddin, I grabbed another one of him due to the announcement of Himmelman leaving Eupen next season. Just solidifies Nuruddin's chances of becoming Eupen's regular number 1. He has another season as an under 23 goalkeeper, so if he does lock in that number 1 spot, then hopefully 0.29 Ethereum will look like a steal, but again, time will tell. Anyway, let's look at my miserable fucking So5 results. As I said, did really fucking shit the last few game weeks, so you're gonna speedrun this shit, honestly. In game week 260, I managed to hit the first Ethereum threshold, which is nice. Nias Goda actually did a goal, but fuck knows what was wrong with Martin Zindi for him not to play, as I could see no injury news, so that was a bit shit. Heartbreak continues to not do goals, so Challenger and Limited Rare were fucked despite Keynes and Sweet getting pretty good scores. Dario Tadic, more like Dario Badic, ha 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 ha. The Legends team was pointless along with the under 23 team, as Nuruddin was dropped for Eupen's final game of the season. At least my boy Fleming did a goal, yay! Some other shit So5 scores were mixed in here as well, and then for game week 261, it was over before it began, as I forgot to set my lineups. Well, it's not so much that I forgot, I actually got fucking clattered with a ball at 5-a-side and had a big fuck off concussion. Couldn't remember anything for a few days and forgot to set my lineups, but hey, after a quick check, I wouldn't have won anything anyway, because, you know, in case I hadn't mentioned to you enough, I'm shit at So5, so no harm there. Game week 262, we got a nice 300 plus score in All-Star, Kyoto on a decent run of form right now, and Neelis had a liquid all-around score. Certainly things you love to see, but what you don't love to see is missing rewards in the Specialist Rare League by about 10 points or so. If only Cade had netted a decisive this game week, so major sadness for that one. Everything else here was just a shower of shit, so not even worth going over it. I then had no players to put out for game week 263, so that means the speedrun is over. Now let's look at my teams for game week 264. 264, which in case you couldn't tell by that clickbait as fuck title, I'm going to randomise my all-star rare team and see if the magic wheel can pull me out a winning team for game week 264. What crazy and wild so rare content we have here today, ladies and gentlemen. Now before I draw the team, let's get some dramatic music going for this truly groundbreaking so rare content we're about to witness today. Wow, the tension in the room is palpable. Now I'm only including players here who are likely to play, so starting off with the keepers, we're going with a common in net, and we've got some strong options here, so let's see what the wheel gives us. Incredible stuff. Chesney will be the goalkeeper. Let's move on to the defender slot. We've got our players here, so let's give the wheel a spin, and sick, none other than my boy, Yukinara Sugawara, selected as the next player. What incredible so rare content this is, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever seen anything like it? Moving on to the midfielder slot, we've got the players listed here, and oh my god, the scenes, Tobias Keynes is selected as the next player, and he's doing really well, ladies, so this is a strong team coming together thanks to the wheel, and oh man, what the fuck am I doing with my life? This is fucking stupid, but hey, I'm committed to it now, lads. Let's move on to the forwards, baby. I've even included Shiny Shiki just for a bit of shithousery. We don't want to see his name, though. Oh, we've got Dario Tadic. I mean, he's been quite shit at scoring goals lately, but hey, we can work with him as long as he starts. Then here we go, a decent list of players for our extra slot here. This is your final pick, Will, so make it a good one. Got Sean Nealis. Okay, then no complaints there. Quite a solid team for Gas 4. Whew, what a wild minute of so rare content that was, ladies and gentlemen. It's innovative content like this, which is why you should subscribe to me. I'm truly a pioneer in the so rare YouTube scene. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Oh, and I hope you'll like the little border I made to put around my face cam, by the way. Definitely didn't steal it from one of the first Google image results and edit it a slight bit or anything. So with Gas 4 done, let's look at my other rare teams I'll be putting out, and it turns out the wheel actually fucked me quite a bit, as surely this is my only rare America Defender card, so no America team this week, but no harm done really, as I'm yet to buy a playing forward for this team, as I mentioned earlier, so it wasn't likely to be a winning one anyway. Just means my rare Stuver will be going to waste this week, so I thought, you know what, fuck the wheel. Stuver's going in Gas 4 over Wojciech Szczesny, and you might be saying to me, Royalivi, don't test the wheel's temper, but you know what, I'm not scared of the wheel. I'll kick it in the dick. No, I won't do that. I don't really have the capacity to do that, but let's forget about that scary wheel and look at my other teams then. In Challenger Rare, I've actually got what seems to resemble a fairly strong team. For our last match, we can see Sweet has picked up some decent scores in recent matches. Jurgen Hell has been a bit of a shitter recently, but I'm going to trust him. Now, the issue with this team is that I have no idea if Bruno Martins Indy will play or not. I actually checked the AZ website for any news on his injury, and it turns out they haven't updated their site in a fucking year, which is kind of mad for a Dutch team that's qualified in Europe, but there you go. At the risk of weakening the team, I've decided Luca Mizell will be going in for Bruno Martins Indy. Obviously, if I was sure Bruno would play, I'd put him in the team, but I can't be sure, so Luca Mizell will go in as a fairly ample replacement. No special teams entering this week, only the 3 limited teams, so looking at All-Star, we've got a mixed bag of all ages, shapes and sizes, hoping Hammer does a bit better than a 10 this week, and fingers crossed Kamada and Bore both start. Bit of a risk with the chopping and changing Frankfurt do, but fuck it, we'll see how they get on over there. Challenger then sees the return of the Hartberg lads in Sweet, Keynes and Badic. St. John's will be captaining this side with Chatsadiakos starting in defence, hoping he'll play for AZ at the back if Bruno Martins Indy is injured, but I have mentioned that I'm pretty shit at SO5, so probably a very decent chance I get that decision wrong, but hey, definitely going to give this team the good old college try. And then my America Limited team. This is sort of what I've banged on about a bit with this video. Very content with Stuver and Kaskantek at the back, no problems there. And although Prishbilko has been a bit shit lately, he will likely start up top, so always a good chance of him scoring a goal or two, but the real issue comes from Pineda and Jimenez. Looking at their scores from the last 5, we can see they both start every game and score fairly decently, but honestly, fairly decently is not enough to cut it at this point. Yes, they're both capable of hitting a 70 or so here and there, but the likely scenario is that they'll both bang a 48 or some shit. You know, it just won't be enough to compete for the top end of rewards in the America League, but hey, hopefully they prove me wrong this week at least, and the team does well. We will see. And yeah, I guess that's fucking it. The SBL has arrived today, so that's pretty cool. No Rangers at the moment, but we've got all of the other teams. Definitely worth considering whether a Celtic stack is the way to go next season. I imagine a good under-23 team can be made as well from these SBL players, so definitely things worth considering as I'm looking at reshaping my club a bit in the future. But that's a problem for next episode, so like and subscribe and blah 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 for more top tier so rare blah blah blah, and I will catch you next time.